السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
بسم الله. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعين ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. ثم أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله تعالى، وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I praise Him, I seek His guidance, and I seek His forgiveness. And I bear witness that there is no deity but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I bear witness that Muhammad, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, is His last and final messenger. O you who believe, be God conscious and fear Allah, the fear that He's most deserving, and die not but in a state of Islam as to what follows. My respected brothers and sisters, in Sahih Muslim, the book of Muslim, a Hadith Qudusi is mentioned. Hadith Qudusi means that the inspiration is from Allah, but the wording is from the words are from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's probably one of the best definitions. In this Hadith Qudusi, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say on the day of judgment, addressing some of His servants, He will say, Ya ibn Adam, maridtu falam ta'udni. O son of Adam, and this obviously son of Adam here applies to both male and female because that's the Arabic language. I was sick. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, I was sick, but you did not visit me. And as you can imagine, any rational human being would be baffled by this question. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, I was sick and you did not visit me. So the response will be, Ya Allah, how do I do this? How do I visit you when you are the Lord of the heavens? You're the Lord of the worlds. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will respond and say, did you not know, أَمَا عَلِمْتَ أَنَّ عَبْدِي فُلَانًا مَرِض? Did you not know that my servant so-and-so was sick? وَلَوْ عُدْتَهُ, and if you'd visited him, you would have found me there. لَوَجَدْتَنِي. Obviously, in knowledge and in Allah's presence is a different topic to, I don't want to go off tangent, but it's not obviously His physical presence, but His presence in His knowledge. So this, as the scholars say, this hadith is talking about how some of us will be held to account on the day of judgment. And then the hadith goes on to say, يا ابن آدم استطعمتك فلم تطعمني. O son of Adam, I was hungry and I asked for food, but you did not feed me. Again, a very puzzling situation when Allah asks someone this question. And the person will respond and say, Ya Allah, وَكَيْفَ أُطْعِمُكَ وَأَنْتَ رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ. How do I feed you when you're the Lord of the worlds? You don't need any of this. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, did not my servant so and so ask you for food? And had you complied and fed them, you would have found this with me. لَوَجَدْتَهُ عِنْدِي. You would have found this action with me. And then the third question that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say is He will say, يَا ابْنَ آدَمْ اسْتَسْقَيْتُكَ فَلَمْ تُسْقِنِي. O son of Adam, I asked you to give me drink, but you did not. And again, the servant will say, Ya Allah, how do I do this? وَكَيْفَ أُسْقِيك? How do I give you drink when you are the Lord of the worlds? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will tell him that so and so istasqaq, this person asked you to give him drink. عبدي فلم تسقها, so you did not give them drink. وَلَوْ أَسْقَيْتَهُ, and had you complied and given them drink, لَوَجَدْتَ ذَلِكَ عِنْدِي, you would have found this with me. In this hadith, there's a lot to be said, and I don't want to spend the rest of the time talking just about this hadith, but I want to highlight the key point here. All these three actions, visiting the sick person, granting food to those who are in need, granting drink or water or provision to those who are in need, these we can all understand. This is basic stuff. We all understand this is a duty, this is something highly rewardable. You know, Iyadatul Marid is actually visiting the sick person, is considered one of the rights of a Muslim upon another Muslim. As mentioned in the hadith of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Sahih Muslim, it talks about 5 rights a Muslim has upon another Muslim. One of them is if the person becomes ill, that you visit them. Obviously, assuming visitation is allowed. So, and we understand وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَيَتِيمًا وَأَسِيرًا, that we are encouraged in the Quran, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, they feed the orphan, the miskin, and even the captive. And they do this out of their own goodwill. All of these, and giving drink as well, all of these 3 actions are tied to a level of kindness and compassion. And that kindness and compassion emanates from mercy. And this is what I want us to spend some time focusing on. Mercy is a characteristic that is highly commendable. And those who have been granted it or who have developed it, inshallah, they be successful. And those who haven't need to work on it to continue to develop that ability within themselves. Rasulullah ﷺ tells us in hadith, in Sunan Ibn Majah and others, he says that inna lillahi mi'ata rahma. Allah has 100 levels of mercy. 100 levels. قَسَمَ مِنْهَا وَاحِدًا. One, he took one of those levels of mercy and he brought it to the inhabitants of this earth. And through that one level of mercy that Allah has brought into this earth, the Rasulullah ﷺ goes on to say, فَبِهَا يَتَهَرَحَمُونَ. This is how the inhabitants of this earth exhibit mercy upon one another. And this is how تعطف الوحوش على صغارها أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم, that even the beasts, the animals, demonstrate mercy towards their young. You know, animals are ferocious beings by nature, but they demonstrate kindness and mercy to their young because of that one level of mercy that Allah brought down to this earth. And then the hadith goes on to say, وَأَخَّرَ تِسْعَ وَتِسْعِينَ, and He subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, has kept the remaining 99 levels so that He may exercise them on the day of judgment when He holds us to account, meaning that He will exhibit the maximum mercy on the day of judgment. This is Him, Allah, the one whom we know as Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the benevolent, the most merciful. This is His characteristic. He is the one who told us, وَرَحْمَتِي وَسِعَتْ كُلَّ شَيْء. My mercy encompasses everything. Everything. And that's why in the Quran He tells us, قُلْ يَا عِبَادِيَ الَّذِينَ أَسْرَفُوا عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ لَا تَقْنَطُوا مِنْ رَحْمَةِ اللَّهِ. He tells us, oh, my servants who have transgressed, who have sinned, who have made so many mistakes throughout their lives, do not despair of Allah's mercy. Because as I just narrated in the prior verse, His mercy encompasses everything. So someone might tell me, but this is Allah. What's this got to do with me? Well, what it has to do with you is He also encouraged us, and His Prophet ﷺ encouraged us to be merciful and to try to emulate some level of mercy. Some level of mercy amongst ourselves. Rasulullah ﷺ even called it out. But before I get to that, let me explain to you, mercy is much broader. There's not enough time to talk about it today. As I was driving here for the khutbah, I was reminiscing on Surah Al-Kahf, which most of us recite on the day of Jum'ah. That is the recommendation of the Prophet ﷺ. And you know, the people of the cave, the youngsters, when, as mentioned in Surah Al-Kahf, when they told each other to go to the kahf, to go to the cave, what did they say? يَنْشُرْ لَكُمْ رَبُّكُمْ مِنْ رَحْمَتِهِ. That Allah will spread for you His mercy. They're going inside a cave, a dark, probably wet, cold place. But they're saying Allah will spread His mercy. And so the scholars explain that the mercy there is that He protects them, He looks after them, He provides for them. So mercy is a much broader term than what we normally translate, but I want to bring it back to human form mercy, what me and you can exhibit as mercy. So before I get into it, I want to remind you, Rasulullah ﷺ tells us in the hadith that it's a long hadith in Sahih Muslim, he talks about 3 categories of people that go to Jannah. 3 categories of people. It starts by Ahlul Jannati Thalath, but I'm going to only cite one part of the hadith because he says one category of those people, وَذَكَرَ مِنْهُمْ رَجُلٌ رَحِيمٌ رَقِيقَ الْقَلْبِ لِكُلِّ ذِي رَحِمٍ وَمُسْلِمٍ وَرَجُلٌ رَحِيمٌ رَقِيقَ الْقَلْبِ لِكُلِّ ذِي رَحِمٍ وَمُسْلِمٍ. A man or a woman who is merciful and kind-hearted towards their relatives and Muslims in general. That is a characteristic that can lead you to Jannah. It brings you into a category of people that go to Jannah. Obviously, you have to fulfill all the other requirements. But that's a category that brings you to Jannah. So this is not something that I'm standing here talking to you about so that people can say, well, this is common sense, just be kind to others. No. This is beyond being kind to others. This is a whole different level. If this weren't enough to convince you, let me share with you another hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and this is what actually drove me to talk about this today. If I were to stand here and take a vote, which I'm not going to do, and say, who wants Allah's mercy? I'm sure no one's going to keep their hand up. Everyone's going to put their hand up. Okay? If everyone wants Allah's mercy, how do you get it? And I'm sure each of you will have a different answer, and inshallah, most of you are right, if not all of you are right. But let me give you one key, one simple key that leads to Allah's mercy. As narrated by Rasulullah ﷺ, he says, Ar-Rahimuna yarhamuhumullah. Those who have mercy, Allah, the most compassionate, will have mercy upon them. Irhamu man fil ardi yarhamukum man fis sama. Have mercy upon those on this earth. And the one in the heavens, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will have mercy upon you. And as we know, it's one of the principles in our Sharia, al-jaza'u min jinsil amal. Your recompense is commensurate with the work you do. So when you are merciful to others, as a recompense, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be merciful towards you. So be merciful to others, to all of His creation. Treat the creatures on this earth with mercy, starting with one another. Let's not even go talk about birds and cats and trees, and let's just talk about one another, human beings, maybe just within this community. Be merciful in how we deal with one another. Be kind in how we deal with one another. So you show kindness towards your fellow Muslim. That is a key to gain Allah's mercy. And you do it not because you're weak, because let's acknowledge, this is one of the common things. People don't want to show kindness and mercy because they think they will be perceived as weak. No. Who cares about what people think? If you do what you do for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is what matters. There's two possible outcomes. You be harsh and tough with others, and on the day of judgment, guess what? You lost Allah's mercy. You be kind and merciful with others. People might think you're weak, but on the day of judgment, you earned Allah's mercy, which nothing can match. This is what I'm talking about. In the other hadith, Rasulullah ﷺ tells us in Sahih Muslim and Bukhari, he says, إِنَّمَا يَرْحَمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الرُّحَمَاء. That Allah exhibits mercy upon His servants who show mercy to others. The same meaning being conveyed here. The same sort of emphasis. And I'll leave you with one more so that I'm sure you're getting, hopefully the message is getting there. In another hadith, Rasulullah ﷺ tells us, and this hadith many of you have heard a different narration of. Most of us know the hadith, لا تدخل والذي نفسي بيده لا تدخلوا الجنة حتى تحابوا. You will not go to Jannah except unless you love one another. And then Rasulullah goes on in the hadith to explain what does this mean. Well, in another narration in Tabarani, he says, والذي نفسي بيده لا تدخلوا الجنة حتى تراحموا. By the one whose soul is in whom my soul is in his hand, you will not go to Jannah until you exhibit mercy amongst one another. So the Sahaba in this hadith, they said, Ya Rasulullah, kulluna rahim. Ya Rasulullah, we all exhibit some level of mercy. It varies, some of us more than others, but kulluna rahim. So Rasulullah ﷺ responded to the Sahaba and he told them, إنه ليس برحمة أحدكم صاحبة ولكن رحمة العامة رحمة العامة. It is not about you being kind and merciful to just your friends, your buddies, the people you already love. No, he said, إنما الرحمة, the mercy here is about being merciful to all of those around you. Al-Amma, the public. Al-Amma. It's easier to be merciful to those whom you love. And sometimes it comes natural, but it's much harder to someone you don't know. It's much harder when it's a stranger. And that's where the test is. And so this is what I want to remind myself and yourself of. Because he made it very clear, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in a hadith, he said, "Man la yarham an-nas, la yarhamuhu Allah." Whoever does not have mercy upon people, Allah will not have mercy upon them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from that. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. So, where do we start? And there's much more to be said that can fit in the remaining minutes of the khutbah. So I'm going to leave you with some pointers. Where do we start with applying mercy? Interestingly, the scholars tell you the very first place you start by applying mercy, you know, is to who? Maybe you might not have thought about this. It's to your own self. Your own self. Have mercy upon yourself. What does this mean? Well, let me give you a hadith of Prophet ﷺ that might help you understand. Rasulullah ﷺ tells us in the hadith, he says, كل الناس يغدو فبائع النفس فمعتقها أو موبقها. All of us get up in the morning and put our souls for sale. Literally, your soul is for sale. Okay, today is a new day. What are you going to do? What's your soul going to earn? Do you get the point? So either you're going to basically get it into a good position where it earns some good stuff, or you're going to basically be someone who corrupts it and we understand the consequence of corruption. So start by having mercy upon yourself when you get up in the morning, by trying to the best of your ability. None of us are perfect. To the best of your ability to say, I'm going to correct my life. I'm going to have mercy on the soul in between my ribs, so that on the day of judgment, it doesn't have to go through the torment of the hellfire. Start by having mercy upon yourself. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. Successful is the one who purifies his soul and cleanses it, and the one who doesn't is wretched. Then, mercy towards your parents. That's a great starting point. Mercy towards your parents. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, you all know the verse, when you are kind, when He's advising us to be kind to our parents and to be merciful to them, what did He say? He said, وَقُلْ رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. Out of your mercy, you are calling upon Allah to grant them mercy. Someone might come and tell me, but brother, my parents are no longer living. Well, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave you a roadmap. He said, if they have passed, then seek those who are closest to them. Contact them. Be kind to them on behalf of your parents. That is another way to continue to be kind toward your parents even after your parents have passed. Your children and your spouses. Exhibit mercy at home. Make your home a place of mercy. Don't flip the bit. Don't be the kind of person who outside of the house is really kind and nice towards people, but then when he comes back home or she comes back home, they take off that garment of kindness and fall back into their old habits of being very difficult and very rough with everyone. Turn your houses into beacons of mercy. Be examples and models. So your spouses and your children. Be kind with and be merciful with your relatives. In fact, as the scholars draw the point, they say, in Sharia, Silatul Rahim is the name of maintaining relationship with your relatives. They're called Ar-Rahim. And they say, وَمِنْهَا اشْتُقَّتْ كَلِمَةُ الرَّحْمَةِ. That, excuse me, it's the other way around. That Ar-Rahim came from the word Rahmah. Because it is so important, it's a great way to exhibit mercy. So seek out your relatives. Contact them. Ask them about their situation. Maybe someone's going through a hard time and you don't know. And you're able to help. Show that mercy. Extend that kindness. Be merciful and kind towards the weak. We have a habit, and when I say this we, I mean it collectively, especially those of us that came from the Muslim world. We love to point out at the rulers, and this is by no means a defense or attempting to defend them, and to point out their fault and how they oppress, etc. But when you look at how people deal amongst each other, we emulate a little bit of that. When we see someone who's weak, we want to establish ourselves above them, make ourselves over them, rule them, govern them. So be kind, but in reality, you should be kind and merciful towards the weak. And lastly, and this is something that I think is really important, especially for us here in the United States, be merciful towards those who commit sin. We do not live in Mecca or Medina in an environment that is semi-sanitized. I won't even say 100%, but semi-sanitized. We do not live at the time of the Sahaba where sins are not abundant. On the contrary, we live in a time where it's a very toxic environment around us. So it's easy for people to trip and make mistakes. And if we're just going to be on the path of every time we see someone making a mistake, we're going to shun them out, we're going to lose the community. We need to be merciful with those who have sinned. Help guide them back to the path. Acknowledge that they've made a mistake. This doesn't mean we don't say they made a mistake, but help them back to the path through merciful and kind treatment. Those are some pointers for you and me to start working on, inshallah, to establish this. Now, and I'll conclude by one last thing. If you've just zoned me out throughout the entire khutbah, you've been filling with your phone, talking to the person next to you, that's unfortunate because you've lost a lot of the reward. If you took nothing from this khutbah, please take at least the hadith that I shared with you. This is a key to gaining Allah's mercy. Ar-Rahimuna yarhamhumullah. Those who exhibit mercy are the ones whom Allah will have mercy upon them. ارحموا من في الأرض يرحمكم من في السماء. Have mercy upon those on earth. The one in the heavens will have mercy upon you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon us. Shower us with His mercy. Extend to us His mercy. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those who exhibit mercy. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us merciful in our kin, in our family, in our homes. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us role models for those that come after us. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا نكونن من الخاسرين. اللهم ارزقنا فعل الخيرات وترك المنكرات وحب المساكين. اللهم أعز الإسلام وانصر المسلمين واخذل الشرك والمشركين أعداءنا أعداء الدين. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. وصلى اللهم وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن